I think every position, there's a certain development process that you have to go through, but certainly quarterback is one of those. Year by year with reps, and year by year with reps, quarterbacks are going to develop different parts of their games, and depending on their high school experience, depending on the offensive similarities, some guys may develop quicker or slower in their initial stages of their career. But the quarterback position is just, it forms the identity of our offense. It forms the identity of a class. And, it just speaks, I think, just how important it is to have a quarterback and how important that position is, that we take somebody every single year. And that way, every single quarterback in our program is being pushed. They know that there's a guy in front of them that is setting a standard, and they also know that there's a guy behind them that, if they're not holding up their end of the bargain, is going to push them to be better and make sure that, they feel that fire and they feel that need to continue to develop the way that we want them to. Rashawn Baker, who, as you mentioned, is a thicker kid who has a little bit more weight now. He may excel earlier in his career in those short yardage situations. And, Paul Neal from Charlotte certainly, will be a guy that we use in a variety of different ways. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to create the most complete and the most multiple offense possible. While those guys do have their strengths, and they, but we're going to ask them to develop into complete running backs. And so certainly there are ways that those guys, that you mentioned already, are going to be able to contribute sooner, but the goal is to help them, as we do with all of our players, whether it be on the football field, in the classroom, help those fill in those gaps and become the best, most complete versions of themselves that they can possibly be. But if these guys are contributing early in their careers and they haven't developed in those other areas that, maybe they're, for Paul, maybe he's not as physical a runner early in his career. Rashawn continues to develop his speed. What we are able to do as a running back group is, we're going to make a defense prepare for everything. If you continue to look at the guys we have on our roster, Alex Bernard, Joe Fex, Jared Cooper, Coleman Bennett, Dan Muser, and then you add these two guys to the mix, and Mike Neal as well. They may not have to prepare. A defense may not have to prepare for everything with one individual, but as a group, the group that we travel and the group that we put out on the football field, they're going to have to. A defense is going to have to be ready to defend a running back group that can do everything. We kind of look at what strengths does every single person bring to the table, and do they have any weaknesses? And when we look at Ethan, Ethan has just an unbelievable motion, really prototypical motion. He really spent a lot of time in the quarantine improving his throwing motion, improving his skills. And he also really worked hard on his athleticism. And we also don't necessarily need Michael Vick running around in the backfield. If you watch Ethan's film, Ethan has what we call, position specific or pocket athleticism, and the way that he moves, the way that he is able to get out on the perimeter and, throw the ball on the run. He certainly shows every single thing that we can do. And, he certainly will not be a sitting duck back there. A guy who has his feet planted in cement has to throw in the pocket. So certainly I do think from a passing perspective, I think Ethan, those are his high water marks, and he certainly shows to have a baseline of athleticism that will come in and be sufficient now, but certainly that we can grow and that we can continue to help him with, and he'll continue to fit into what we look for. It is, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it is the most physical position that you possibly can play on our offense. And so you want to have enough bodies to make sure that guys are getting reps, improving, but also not being overworked. And so certainly we want to build depth at that position so that we are achieving that in practice. Even if it's just drill work, teamwork against our own defense, it's something that is just so important to our depth. And hopefully that's something that we'll continue to do a good job with. And if I'm allowed to preview for, the second signing day in February, I'd say that's the area that we will continue to look to add depth to our roster. Continuing to add quality bodies that are big physical guys that are ready to contribute, if not on Saturdays, at least during the week to practice and make us better and make us deeper. We still want to add probably one more tight end here as well. And the tight ends, they're in line and they do a lot of the same grunt work that, the tight ends, that the offensive line does. Maybe not at quite the volume. We'll get them involved in the passing game, but certainly that's an area that we want to improve. We're always, we and Coach Shakini and Coach Ford do a great job giving us a plan, but that plan is always flexible. And we're going to work really, really hard over these next couple weeks over the holiday to work on a plan that we developed and tweaked since last January or February, but we're never going to pass up adding the best football players that we possibly can. So I can assure you that offensive line will be a priority. And then after that, it's okay, well, what makes us the best offense that we possibly can be?